All right, everybody, it is 6 p.m. We'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Schertz Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Item number one, we call this to order. Tonight we are seating an alternative. We have Ms. Judy Goldick joining us down here. Real quick, before we get started with our agenda, I do want to make the announcement that items 5A and 5B have been withdrawn. We are going to hear the items, but no action will be taken. This is the Northcliffe cases, so if that's what you're here for, you're welcome to stay and speak, but no action will be taken tonight. Any further action will need to be renoticed and reapplied and will reappear at a later date if it happens. So we will move on to the hearing of residents. So anyone signed in? Perfect. All right. Christopher Duffett. Hi. If you could please state your name and address for the record, you have 3 minutes.
Sure. Christopher Duffett, 3400 Woodlawn Farms. Good evening. My name is Chris Duffett, and I'm a board member of the Kensington Ranch Homeowners Association. We represent 916 homeowners in the cities of Schertz and Selma. It was recently brought to our attention through public notice that a plot near our neighborhood is under consideration for rezoning from GB2 to R2. This zone change case ends 0062, agenda item 5C for tonight. This property is currently landlocked and rezoned to be plotted to R2 and will connect 3 plots into a potential larger R2 community. Development of these 3 plots into a single community would have a significant negative impact on traffic, utilities, and infrastructure in our area. Unfortunately, it is our association's experience with other development planning efforts that minimal impact studies are completed prior to these plots being approved and developed. Our residents have valid infrastructure concerns as we see these areas rezoned for development. In the past, this lack of pre-coordination was recognized here at the PNZ and eventually led to the last 2 rezones in this general area being voted down at council. One of the pre-coordinated items lies with JBSA Randolph providing a positive recommendation for the impact of APZ2. The area of proposed rezone not only would have significant negative impacts on infrastructure, but was specifically highlighted as an area of highest concern in the 2017 JBSA ACUS study. Additionally, Schertz UDC states in section 21, unless JBSA Randolph affirmatively recommends to the city that the proposed development or zoning changes in the ACUS be permitted, the development or zoning change will not be approved by the city. The applicant requested a response from JBSA Randolph twice, and both requests in April and May of 2025 did not receive an affirmative recommendation as required by the UDC. Additionally, our own Schertz Fire Department has weighed in and has concerns with potential residential development in this area. The language could not be clearer. JBSA and our own fire department does not support the development in APZ2. We understand change in development in our community will happen. However, this and any other future development cannot occur in a vacuum, independent of inter-city coordination, community partner, or citizen desires and inputs. On behalf of the members of Kensington Ranch, we request that both the PNZ Commission and the Schertz City Council not recommend, disapprove the request for rezone of 0062, agenda item 5C. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was everyone signed up to speak for hearing of residents. There will be another opportunity to speak on the individual items when they come up. So we will go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. Were there any questions, comments about the minutes? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
That was a motion by Commissioner Carbone, a second by Commissioner Hector. If there's no other comments, please vote. I have 7 votes. Can we post that, please? That motion carries. All right, item 5A. Hold a public, or I'm sorry, PLZC 2025-0166, hold a public hearing and make a recommendation on a zone change request from pre-development district, general business district, and single-family residential district to middle density residential district on approximately 81 acres of land generally located 1,900 feet south of the intersection of I-35 Country Club Boulevard, also known as Guadalupe County, property identification numbers 63833, 63836, 63838, 34548, 34577, 34755, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas, and Comal County property identification numbers 377261, and a portion of Comal County property identification number 75381, City of Schertz, Comal County, Texas.
Good evening, Commission. This is for PLZC 2025-0166, and as Chairman Wallace mentioned, this has been withdrawn by the applicant. I will give a very short presentation just for some context and some information, and then we do have to have the public hearing, but then no action. Emily Delgado, Planning Manager. So to get your bearings, the subject property is outlined here in green. Here is I-35 and Country Club. It does go on both sides of Country Club, so there's the 24-acre tract here, and then some additional parcels located on this side of Country Club. This is the current and proposed zoning map. So you can see the request was for approximately 81 acres from pre-development, general business, and single-family residential R6 to middle-density residential R5. So what exactly is that? R5 is intended to provide developments that offer a variety of housing types. It's a transition between single-family residential and commercial and or denser multifamily, and it can be comprised of both attached or detached residential dwellings. And it was intended for smaller infill tract developments to offer that variety of housing types in Schertz. So how that would apply here on this proposed 81 acres, the UDC states that over 1 acre tracts are allowed to have 12 dwelling units per acre. So on the approximately 81 acres, this site could construct a maximum of 972 dwelling units. 292 public notices were mailed on August 16th. As of about 5 p.m. today, we've had 1 in favor, 88 in opposition. Additionally, a public hearing notice was published in the San Antonio Express News on September 24th for this case to be heard at the October 14th City Council meeting. Additionally, the applicant placed notification signs on the property. So as I mentioned, kind of a status update, next steps. So on Friday, September 26th, the applicant formally withdrew PLZC 2025-0166. So no action will be taken by the Planning and Zoning Commission on this item or the City Council on the associated Ordinance 25S044. However, the public hearing tonight and the public hearing on October 14th will occur. After the public hearing on the item, the Planning and Zoning Commission will take no action and we'll move on to the next zone change. But then I do want to take this time to kind of give some information to the residents. Since these were withdrawn, if the applicant chooses to move forward and submits a new zone change application, it'll be just that. It'll have new case numbers, new public hearing notice mailers will be sent, signs will be replaced on the property, it'll be republished in the newspaper. So if a resident has submitted a public hearing response on PLZC 2025-0166, that will not transfer to any new case. You will need to submit a new public hearing response for any future case that's submitted. We just wanted to give some additional information for the residents that may be listening. That's it.
All right, thank you, Emily. This is a public hearing, so we'll go ahead and open it up to anyone who wishes to address the commission. You'll have 3 minutes. Yeah, come on up. You just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes. My name is DJ Thompson, and I live in North Cliff. Hello, neighbors. Hello, council, zoning. I have a letter I'd like to read, and then I'd like to submit that. I'll give that to here or here. You can direct me. Thank you very much. We, the concerned citizens of Schertz, stand together in petitioning our officials respectfully appeal to zoning and planning to halt all and any rezoning changes, voting regarding the foreign developer Habby HABI, until after a third party is mandated to survey how the influx of high-density housing tied to overcrowding can alter the social fabric of our communities, in parentheses, thus our city, with an already crumbling infrastructure. The following are just a few of the many things that need to be addressed in implementing this mandate, and what is already known that the city needs to repair, correct before any developer should be considered to bring a high-density population into our communities. I'm going to state just a few. Failing city water pipes, creating defaulting pressure. Many don't have water pressure. It's very minimal. Disintegrating roads, needed replacement years ago. Defective storm drainage, many homes flooded this summer of 2025. Disruption to local ecosystems, strain on wastewater, utilities, low police presence, stressing existing public services, and so much more that I don't have enough time in my 3 minutes, and I'm taking the 3 minutes from my husband also, to list them all. Sincerely, thank you as we work together to maintain our community's infrastructures, creating a range of positive outcomes. And I just want to thank each of you all for all that you do every month, coming and sitting here. I'm sure you get beat up a lot of times, but I'm coming to bring some love to you today and just say thank you for all that you do. And I really appreciate if you would take this into consideration. There are 5 more of these going all around the city of Schertz who are standing with us. And in 2009, we won for the best place to live in Texas. And we'll never win that again because we didn't have the support of city council to keep the golf course open. And so now we're in the position that we are now. And the young lady, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Thank you so much. How can I forget, right? I just saw you earlier today. I'm so sorry. Yes, but we would like for you all to only consider R6. And we're going to be more proactive instead of reactive to what's going on in our community. And so right now we're in the middle of drawing up a plan that we'd like to later submit to you all. I talked to the mayor, I talked to someone on city council, and they said, you know, R6 is coming. We said, you will not get any pushback for R6. We welcome. Would you all remember that, please? We welcome R6. We want R6. Please give us R6. Can you do that, Mr. Outlaw? Thank you. Thank you. And I'll invite you over for a homemade meal once we get R6 in our community. It's no bribe or anything like that. It's just neighbors. You all are my neighbors first, who just happen to sit on the zoning commission board. And I thank you so much for being neighbors. I want to love you well, and I appreciate each one of you. Thank you, Mr. Wallace, for this time. And I'm going to pass this over there. And again, we welcome R6. You'll get no pushback. You won't get 500 people coming here to keep you all night to hear their complaints. We will let you go home early. You will get no pushback. R6, that's all we're requesting. Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you. Real quick before you walk away, what was your husband's name for the time? Yeah, just real quick so we have it on the broadcast.
Can I give your name,
Oh.
honey? His name is John Thompson.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, anyone else on this item? Going once, going twice. It is 6:14. We'll go and close the public hearing on this item. Just no action, move on.
No action, roll right into the next one.
Okay,
Yep.
so we'll go ahead and move to 5B. PLZC 2025067, hold a public hearing and make a recommendation on a zone change request from pre-development district and general business district to apartment multifamily residential district on approximately 24 acres of land known as Guadalupe County, property identification numbers 63835, 72500, and 72501, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas, and Comal County, property identification number 81292121896, and a portion of Comal County, property identification number 75381, City of Schertz, Comal County, Texas.
Good evening again. PLZC 2025-0167. Again, this one was also withdrawn by the applicant, but I'm going to go through a quick presentation on this one as well. So here is the subject property outlined in green. You can see the I-35 access road, Columbia, and it is this tract here, approximately 24 acres. The proposal was to rezone the general business and pre-development district to apartment multifamily district R4, which you can see here on the proposed zoning exhibit. So R4 is intended to provide denser apartment and multifamily style developments. It's supposed to be a suitable transition between single family and commercial uses. However, R4 shall not be located in areas where they would increase traffic with access through single family neighborhoods and shall be located adjacent to arterial streets. So very similar to the previous case with R5, R4 has a maximum density that's allowable per the UDC as well. For R4, it's 35 dwelling units per acre, so the approximately 24-acre tract could construct a maximum of 840 units. And then R4 also requires that 20% of the total platted area is common usable open space. 75 public hearing notices were sent on August 16th. As of 5 p.m. today, we have 14 in opposition, 0 in favor, and 0 neutral. This item was also published in the San Antonio Express News on September 24th for the case to be heard at the October 14th City Council meeting. So very similar to the previous case, the applicant withdrew on Friday, September 26th, but we do need to have the public hearing tonight. We'll also still have the public hearing for Ordinance 25S043 at the October 14th City Council meeting. And then kind of the same spiel again. If they choose to move forward with rezoning, a rezone request for this property as well, we'll go back through the whole process. New notices will be sent and all of that.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, again, this is a public hearing, so we'll go ahead and open up to comment. It is 6:17. Anyone for this item? No? All right, it is still 6:17, and we will close the public comment. And having taken no action, we'll move on to item 5C. PLZC 2025-0062, hold a public hearing and make a recommendation on a zone change request on approximately 32 acres of land from General Business District 2 to Single Family Residential District, known as Guadalupe County, property identification number 64558, City of Schertz, Texas. Daisy?
Good evening, Commission. PLZC 2025-0162, a proposed zone change to R2 for 32 acres within the APZ2. Daisy Marquez, Senior Planner. Here's the subject property outlined in yellow. It is currently zoned GB2 and it is currently undeveloped. To the north of the subject property, it is outside of city limits. It is actually Universal City and it has some agriculture and homes up here. And then farther up north, we have the Kensington Ranch portion that's within the city of Selma. To the east, we have single-family residential district R2. It's been zoned that way for a very long time, and it is undeveloped. To the south, we have this large tract that's zone GB. That is the City of Schertz-owned soccer fields, and then this GB2 portion to the south is the privately owned soccer fields. And then here, to the west of the property, we have UC ETJ, so Universal City ETJ. So 10 public notices were sent on June 18th, and as of today, we have received 3 in favor, 0 neutral, and 3 in opposition. And a public hearing notice will be posted in the paper prior to the City Council hearing. 2 signs were posted by the applicant, and a notice was sent to SCUC ISD. So kind of just giving you a background on what's being proposed today. The subject property is 32 acres. It is within the APZ2. These blue dotted lines represent the APZ, and you can see that all the 32 acres are within that APZ2. And all zone changes within the APZ2 are required to receive an affirmative recommendation from JBSA, like our UDC says, and we'll get more into that in a bit. So the current dimensional requirements for GB2 are listed here. You can see the width and depth is 100 by 100, and the width and depth for R2 single family is 70 by 120, 8,400 square feet minimums. It's kind of just giving you a background on this whole situation and what's going on. So per the letter of intent, this 32 acres that we're discussing tonight is part of a larger multiple jurisdiction development. That larger development is outlined in black, and as you can see, it crosses multiple jurisdiction lines. But what we are discussing today are only the 32 acres that are within the city of Schertz. So just as a reminder, the city of Schertz only has jurisdiction for properties within city limits, and our UDC includes adopted rules and regulations for properties in the ACUS. Other jurisdictions may not utilize the same rules and regulations within the ACUS in the same fashion that the city of Schertz does. So in UDC section 2159, special districts, this is where our special regulations for ACUS properties is. And as you can see in section 2, unless Randolph Air Force Base affirmatively recommends to the city that the proposed development or zoning change in the ACUS be permitted, the development or zoning change will not be approved by the city. And here are the two letters that the applicant received after sending two zoning requests to JBSA. This is an April letter, and you can see here that JBSA says JBSA recommends addressing the following comments. And in the May letter, they received the same sort of response to their resubmittal that JBSA recommends addressing the following comments. We provide an example below of an affirmative recommendation letter not received by this application by a different application in the ACUS where JBSA states JBSA affirmatively recommends the proposed zoning change is permitted. And as you can see from this example from other applications that the applicant did not receive that affirmative recommendation. So again, when looking at zone changes, staff looks towards the criteria listed in section 2154D. One, whether the proposed zoning change implements the policies of the adopted comprehensive land use plan and any other applicable adopted plans. So this area is designated as complete neighborhood, which is for a mix of housing and supporting land uses. But even the comprehensive plan says we need to consider conflicts among land uses and roadway classification. And all these 32 acres are within the APZ2, and the proposed R2 zoning would allow about 5.2 dwelling units per acre. And just as a reminder, we cannot restrict density within a property that has straight zoning. So considering the proposed residential density of R2 in the APZ that encumbers the property, the proposed residential density is not appropriate at the specified location and creates conflicts among land use, which does not implement the comprehensive land use plan. 2, whether the proposed zone change promotes the health, safety, and general welfare of the city. So this proposed zone change does not promote the health, safety, and general welfare of the city because the applicant did not receive the required affirmative recommendation from JBSA as our UDC section 2159A2 requires. So it does not meet the UDC requirements. And again, the application was forwarded twice to JBSA for their review, and the two letters were received in April, May, and affirmative recommendation was not received with either letter. And again, here's our example where JBSA provides an affirmative recommendation to another application, but our applicant here tonight did not receive that. 2, whether the proposed zone change promotes I'm going backwards. Whether the uses permitted by the proposed change will be consistent and appropriate with existing uses in the immediate area. So the R2 zoning district does allow for things like school, parks, and single family. However, it is within the ACOs, the APZ2. And although single family residential is not incompatible within the ACOs, the density proposed with this R2 zoning is not compatible. And the applicant did provide a TIA determination form as is required now for our zone changes. And our engineering department was able to review it, and they stated that the proposed zone change from GB2 to R2 would not have an adverse impact to the current transportation system created by the proposed development traffic. And then 4, whether other factors are deemed relevant and important in the consideration of the amendment. So again, this proposed zone change does not meet our UDC requirements as listed in section 2159A2, as no affirmative recommendation from JBSA was received, and police, fire, and EMS departments were notified. Police and fire did not have that's supposed to say EMS. Police and EMS did not have specific concerns over the zone change request, but the fire department does have concerns with the potential residential development within the JBSA flight path and those additional potential of accidents in the APZ. So UDC section 2159A2 stipulates that unless Randolph Air Force Base affirmatively recommends to the city that the proposed development or zone change in the ACUS be permitted, the development or zoning change will not be approved by the city. So staff is recommending denial of PLZC 2025-0062 for not meeting the Unified Development Code requirements, as the applicant has failed to obtain an affirmative recommendation from JBSA as per UDC. And the applicant is here with the presentation.
Thank you, Daisy.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Patrick Christensen, 315 East Commerce Street, San Antonio, Texas. Here on behalf of the Biegert family that are here today for this rezoning. Before I begin, let me just state, when I talk about staff, I'm not necessarily talking about Daisy, I'm talking about other city staff. Just so you understand, we filed this case on March 10th of this year, and we're just now getting to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Certain staff have done everything they can to make sure this case was never brought to the light of day. And you will understand that when I start going through our process. We've had several iterations of this. As staff said, it's part of a larger development. We're proposing 64 lots on 32 acres, 2 lots per acre. As you can see from this proposed site plan, what we're doing here, we're shifting the homes as far away from the actual flight line as we can. We feel this is better than having homes on half-acre lots in the direct line of flight. So that's why we're trying to do this. And let me make sure I can figure out this computer here. Daisy, what do I do? Is there a mouse?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay. And this is the larger development. I'm here on behalf of Meritage Homes. As you may remember, we did phase 1 up there on the top right. Probably at about a year ago now, or at least maybe 9 months ago. The property just to the south, what's called phase 3, is already zoned R2. And we have the other part on the bottom left that's in the city of Universal City. What we're asking for here today is the 32 acres that's highlighted in blue. The yellow hash marks, that is the APZ zone. The middle of the APZ zone is the actual flight path. As you can see, like I just said, we're trying to push the houses as far out of the actual flight path as we can. And if you look to the north of us, Universal City clearly has different standards on the APZ. It is packed full of houses, and they have no issue with the proposed houses on the bottom left there. The JBSA letters. Staff's being a little selective in what they're showing you. Here's what the most recent letter stated. And just so you understand, the first letter, we came in with R2, 116 lots, 5-point-something lots per acre. When we got the first letter, we said, okay, we need to back off. We need to have a lower density. Let's get down to that 2 lots per acre that JBSA is saying they want. So what they came back with was this. JBSA recommends application of the above 2 dwelling units per acre single-family land use maximum density as applied to the subject 32-acre parcel. That's exactly what we're doing here. Because they didn't use the word affirmatively, and I can't speak for them of why they didn't use that. It may be because, as staff said, could we build more houses than just the 64 we're talking about? We could. So we asked staff, if that's your concern, let us do a planned development district, a PDD zoning, where we can lock in a site plan and lock in the number of homes. Well, we got it. Oh, no, we can't do that. Council doesn't like PDDs anymore. We don't want to do that anymore. But that would have addressed their immediate concern, but they won't let us do it. I also asked, well, what if we did some deed restrictions? In San Antonio, we do deed restrictions all the time when we have something, commercial uses, and there's certain uses they don't want to have, like tattoo parlors and things like that. We said, we'll happily do deed restrictions maybe with Kensington Ranch or something, stating that on this 32 acres we can only do 64 lots. But didn't really get anywhere with that, and we're still happy to do that if somebody wants to step forward and be a beneficiary of those deed restrictions. And I have to ask, I mean, it seems strange that the way staff is interpreting your development code, that federal bureaucrats, JBSA, have the power to tell the city of Schertz what to do on their zone. Now, I get when you say we need to get a recommendation from JBSA, City of San Antonio, City of Boulevardia, all the other cities do that. Everybody wants to know what JBSA wants to do because everybody wants to keep the military happy. We're a military city, county, USA here. And I know Randolph is important to the city of Schertz, just like all the other cities around here. But to state that unless I give you an affirmation, the city has no power to approve a zoning, that's just not right. The city has approved their zone. The federal government, JBSA, they don't control what Schertz does. That's really not possible. But that's the way staff are interpreting it to try to make sure we can get approved. Lastly, you know, the general business district that we are zoned, you know, it's shopping centers, it's restaurants. This property is completely landlocked. It's not on a major thoroughfare. It basically makes the property almost undevelopable. There's really not a whole lot you can do, and that's really not fair to the Beager family. I mean, they've been here for over 100 years. They're one of the original Schertz families. They've been surrounded by development. Now they've got a couple little pieces left. They can't farm it anymore. It's not economically viable, and they would just like to be able to sell it to developers like everyone else around them did. They just got there first. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have about my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, this is a public hearing. It is 6:31, and we will go ahead and open it up. Just a couple things before we get started. Y'all are allowed to, you have 3 minutes. We can't answer questions, so please don't phrase things in the form of a question. If you have questions, we're happy to write them down and we can ask them to staff when the public hearing is closed, but we're not allowed to respond to anything. So with that, whoever, if you would like to speak on this item, feel free to come on up. You'll have 3 minutes.
Will this be the only hearing regarding this?
I believe so. I don't think the next item is, this is it. This is your opportunity. Yes? No?
I do have a question.
Yeah. If you would just state your name and address for me too.
L. Jones, 3004 L'Apostle Circle.
Okay.
We're in the red zone, if you
Okay.
will, around the property. When will we see some layout of how this thing's going to work? Because the only access to that, quote, landlocked property is at the end of our street going through there. We've already endured all the construction from Meritage in phase 2 of the Orchard Park area. And contractors are not people that drive slow through the neighborhoods. Now it's all developed. People have families with kids. And how are they going to access this property? I saw a map earlier on another area that where these two pieces intersect to this dead zone, if you will. Have those been approved? You know which ones I'm talking about?
No. Can
Where
we
was
go
the map?
back? Yeah, can we go back a little bit?
Yeah, I just need the map before this, right here.
Okay.
Two areas in orange.
Okay.
Okay? One of them is they were planning on putting a road through from Savannah into that area. The original plan was for high-end homes, single-family residence, and a bunch of apartments somewhere. And everybody raised a big stink about it, and hopefully it was put back to our regularly, basically single-family residence again. And we did not know about the piece where it continues through and comes into there, and then the roads come into that lot. Is this part of one large development that some point in time, the current 32 acres will be, you know, included and be developed as well? Because how are you going to get there? There's only one way, and it's through our neighborhood. I'm not sure I really want to see that.
Like I said, we
Right,
can't
'cause
respond to it.
In phase 2 of Meritage's development, we were the third home purchased. So we had to watch everything else go in and be built. And a lot of times it was not a good situation with the subs that were coming in and out of there and all the other people, just lookers, along with all the theft that was happening with people stealing stuff out of their homes and whatnot for
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody? Yeah, come on up. Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask you a question? I don't know if that's,
Oh,
okay, is that after?
yeah, we'll, if you have questions, like, we're writing down the questions.
Okay.
And we'll
Actually,
get
my
the
statement
answers.
was Chris Duffett, 3400 Woodlawn Farms, on behalf of Kensington Ranch. I guess the question on the map that's being displayed right now is much like the previous gentleman just mentioned about the entranceways. That northernmost section in the orange comes off of Savannah Drive, which would be the Irish Creek entrance to that phase one, which is referred to as Cibolo Farms. And so I guess my question would be, is that in my initial statement, I had mentioned about the possible connection of the three zones. I was excluding in those comments if Cibolo Farms was actually part of the overall project. We were not aware of that. So I guess that would be my question, and I could probably talk with him offline and just find out if that is the case. But as the commissioners, you probably remember, is we've worked to try and get the right mixture of whether it was going to be a PDD, R2 to R6, for Cibolo Farms. And I believe it still is currently R2. Is that correct? Thank you. So that would just be something I would ask for y'all to consider, as well as if the proposal is that phase one is including Cibolo Farms, then all of our previous discussions with regards to traffic for Savannah, that we've actually done studies on, the entrance from Schertz Parkway to 1518, and then also I know on those other two previous rezones, the ISDs, it'd be Pascal and such, they actually did not offer an opinion at that point. But again, that actually adds to the overall volume, even more so than what my initial comments had mentioned. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, come on up. If you'll just state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Janora Shaw Hicks. I stay at 3016 Lepistole Circle. I was told when we bought our property, and we're the back end, we were the second one that moved in that little nook right there on Lepistole Circle. And we were told they were not going to build. That was one of the reasons why we bought our property. And so me and my husband, my husband passed last year, but we were told that they were not going to build on that property after we moved in. And so I am not happy to hear this because depending on what they're going to do, I'll probably have to move again, because I really didn't want anybody to be behind me or on the side, or because I'm right next to their property. So I see the cows, I see the frogs, I see the water well, the water hole, and all. I see all of that stuff. And so for them to now come in and say, oh, we changed our mind, we're going to build, I'm not happy to hear that. And so I'm just really coming to make a statement, not to ask a question. But I'm like him, we had the theft, we had our door stolen 3 times, we had our toilet taken twice. Just a whole bunch of stuff comes with moving in and trying to rebuild and having people come across your properties and stuff like that. And so I just really came to make a statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. It is 6:38, and we will go ahead and close the public comment section. Commissioners, Mr. Carbone, I saw your hand go up.
Sir?
Yes, Commissioner.
So the UC portion, has that already been approved through the Universal City already?
Well, it's interesting you asked. I'm glad you did, because I know that was brought up. What we have here in the Universal City portion, it is in their ETJ, as staff said. We have received notice that they are annexing it, and we've been working with them to make sure that we get the zoning so that we can do this. And just so everybody knows, that little stub out that's right there above where it reads Malbec Drive, we already received permission from the City of Universal City to actually connect to that. They had that subdivision when it was platted by Universal City create a stub out, because all of you know access is important for emergency services, things like that. So that connection has been approved, and we're working with the city to, as part of the annexation, to get the correct zoning for what we're trying to do.
Okay. My second question is, total acres of that blue box, you said were 32, correct?
That we're rezoning today, yes.
And you said how many homes are going to go in that space?
64, 2 per acre.
But that's the total volume of that blue circle. And you said, was it 30, 40% of it is just going to be green space?
Yes, so what we're proposing is, like you see here, the homes shoved to one side,
Well, then what's the lot size going to be on those?
8,400 square feet.
So will that meet the 2 houses per acre designation that Randolph is asking for? Because
Yes.
Randolph is asking for 2 houses per acre to
Correct.
meet their requirements. But if you're trying to fit 64 homes into 32 total acres, but yet you're taking a third off the table, how does that math add up? That math's not
No, we're not
mathing.
taking it off the table. I mean, what I'm saying is it's part of that calculation of 2 homes
So you're
per acre.
talking about the total property.
Is 32 acres, and we're proposing 64 homes. Now, we're not doing half-acre lots, which I think is what you're thinking. What we're saying is we're going to push the homes over as far away from the flight line as we can within that 32 acres. That's what you're seeing here.
Okay, but they're not meeting the designation of 2 homes per acre.
Depends on how you calculate it. Understood.
Well, I know how to do math pretty well, and so
Yeah.
that, in my gut, that's not how you math, right? So if Randolph is asking for 2 homes per acre, then that means you take 1 acre and you stick 2 homes in it, and then you do that again and again and again. You don't take the total volume and squish everything over to one side. I think you're trying to slide one past us, and so bottom line is that if you want to get this approved, which I'm not against capitalism. I'm not against you making money, but you have to meet Randolph's requirements. And everyone in this community, including myself, understands where we get our meal tickets from, and that's Randolph Air Force Base. And so if Randolph says no, then I'm telling you right now, my answer is no. And so I want you to be able to do this project, but I want you to be able to do it right. And so that's my take. So
Understood. I believe keeping the homes out of the flight line is important. Understood.
Commissioner Hughes?
What would you be doing with the green space area? Would that turn into another addition to the park? Or is that going to be reserved for further use?
Yes, it would be some kind of park space, dog park, things like that. We would not build on it.
Okay, so that would turn into a park that would be given over either to the HOA or to the city, depending on,
Correct.
okay.
Commissioner Outlaw?
History. I don't remember what they were calling it, but this project originally came to us for multifamily. And as part of that plan, this 32 acres was going to be preserved as green space, no development whatsoever, in order to keep everything out of the APZ. Nobody liked that plan, okay? So that plan was disapproved, and now we're stuck with this kind of thing, okay? That's the problem. We just, Okay, I'm with Commissioner Carbone. The land use agreement with Randolph is poorly written, and we learned that with Laura Heights, or whatever all that development out on southwestern Schertz, okay? Yes, it says 2 homes per acre. That's what the Air Force meant, exactly what Commissioner Carbone said. 1 acre, 2 houses, 1 acre, 2 houses. Well, the developer did exactly what you're doing. They said, well, we've got 32 acres, we can build 64 homes. And so that's what they did out there, and the Air Force is not happy about it, okay? The whole idea of low density, 2 per acre, was more open space, less well, no, as a word, opportunity is not the right word, but in other words, you got an airplane coming down. And you've got the homes spread out more, okay? So yes, potential. There's the potential of that aircraft hitting 1 or more homes is reduced. versus when you do this kind of calculation and bunch them all in one spot, you know, now you got what, 20 feet? If you follow the setbacks, you've got 20 feet between houses. Okay, what they might call a target-rich environment. So I agree with Commissioner Carbone. While that may be what the agreement says, that is not what the agreement intent. And we know that because of the reaction by the Air Force of all the development that was done out there in Southwest Schertz. I don't agree about PDDs. All of a sudden, because one or two of them were disapproved, all of a sudden City Council doesn't like PDDs? I don't agree with that, okay? I don't think that's the mandate from, I haven't seen a mandate from City Council that says no more PDDs. What they got upset about was using PDDs to circumvent all our rules and the city getting nothing in return, okay? So I'm not sure, because here's the other thing. We're not zoning the piece of property where you want to build those 64 homes. We are zoning all 32 acres, okay? We have, you could come in here as soon as that zoning gets approved, you'd come in here and build 128 homes, and nothing we can say about it, okay? I'm sorry I'm upset about this, but we had the perfect opportunity to preserve this property, okay? And we lost that. So I'm not sure a PDD would be a bad idea to at least try one, okay? And I'd like to clear up one thing. The Air Force is not telling the city what they can and can't do. The Air Force said, you know, and it's the city council that enacted the ordinance that put that caveat in the Unified Development Code that says, if Randolph doesn't give you affirmative approval, we're not going to approve it. That was the city's decision, not the Air Force's. I see a head shaking way back in the back there, Brian. You know, no, you don't. No, we're good. But that's my interpretation, okay? You know, discussions between the Air Force and the city, the Air Force, you know, said this is what we'd like, and the city said, okay, we'll put that rule in place. So the Air Force isn't telling, we chose to ask them for that. And that's my final comment. If you don't have an affirmative response from Randolph, the UDC clearly says we cannot approve this zone change.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
To follow what Commissioner Outlaw was saying, if we could take 16 acres and zone that for parks and other development, that might clear up a little heartburn and might be able to work with Randolph. But again, Randolph needs to clarify and agree with it. So the current zoning right now, there's nothing to stop further development into the full 32 acres. But if language came in where it was basically split zoned and half of the acreage would be covered for homes with Randolph approval, with the other half being set up as green space, and that language was there, that would probably give a better chance of approval. But right now, that doesn't exist.
Thank you, sir. I do have a question for staff, and this regards PDDs again. So, I mean, we just approved one last meeting. So, I mean, is there validity to the we can't submit this as a PDD? Because I think it's been echoed a couple times where I do agree with Mr. Outlaw in saying that we're just looking at the base zoning. So yeah, the math can kind of go one way or the other, but I mean, if we're saying no, you can't apply for a PDD, or no, we're not going to move forward with a PDD, but we're still taking them for other projects, I mean.
So just to speak on the last PDD that was denied at council for Saddlebrook, that was an amendment to their PDD.
The industrial park that we just approved.
Oh, for
Yeah.
flow tags?
Yeah.
It hasn't gone to council yet, but.
I know, but I mean, they're still taking them. I mean,
Yeah,
clearly you
there-
can
there's-
apply for
yeah,
it, and we
PDDs
can
are
hear
meant to
them.
be used for special circumstances where, flexible zoning is required.
Okay, so like in this
Brian's
scenario where yeah, come on up, Brian. I mean, in this scenario where,
Sitting in back, and then Glenn calls me out back there.
That's
as
fine.
I'm trying to catch up on work.
yeah,
It was Steve.
I mean, it just seems like a scenario where, I mean, clearly we're in a situation where their recommendation is 2 homes an acre. And so if we have a PDD that ties into the larger residential development, that frankly, I mean, the rest of it is, this is the
Yeah.
final piece. So if you have a PDD that shows, okay, here's what you can achieve based on what Randolph wants to do and based on what the zoning allows, I mean, I think it is unfair to the development to be locked into, here's a big piece that we can't use. And so, I mean,
So let me say this, because
Yeah.
the fundamental question was with PDDs. So we have a PDD provision in our UDC, and folks can certainly submit an application for any zoning they want, including a PDD.
Yeah.
And as you know, at some point, folks can say, staff, I appreciate y'all's feedback, I appreciate your input, I just want my case to go forward. I certainly understand that may mean staff's going to recommend denial of it for the reasons you're going to recommend it. And at that point, we'll move it forward, and that's kind of where we got, I think, on this case going forward. So folks can certainly submit that. Now, I will say, as the commissioners who've been here a while understand, there has been this frustration about the use of PDDs and how they are used. And we have gone to city council and said, hey, look, tell us how you want us to do this, because we had had a couple of cases that seemed like, based on the comments from council, didn't get approved solely because they were submitted as a planned development district, right? It seems to be this bit of a slippery slope of when you, and we've had criticism from some of the residents in the past, and when you read the language about what the PDD is for, that the PDDs we're getting aren't really about achieving the purpose and the intent, and we've heard that from on P&Z and council before, and we're just tired of kind of messing with it and tired of dealing with it, and folks need to run it through straight zoning. Again, let me say the fundamental thing, I think, to speak from staff on this is we have this provision that council passed, that I agree with Commissioner Outlaw, that council in the past said, look, this stuff with Randolph is so important to us that unlike any other city out there, we're going to put in a provision that says, unless we get a letter affirmatively supporting that they want this zoning to go through, which is the clear intent of it, then we can't approve it as city council. That's not turning the authority over to Randolph. That's our city saying that's what we want to do. And I think from staff's position, if Randolph came in and gave a letter on whatever case was up here that said, we want this to be approved, we think it's better for Randolph, barring some other major issue, right, which there really isn't. The fundamental thing on this is the JBSA and its incompatibility in the ACUs, then I think staff is going to say, then we're fine with it and recommend approval of it. But that's where they've struggled to get this approved with JBSA. And the only thing I'll say with that is, we have done this long enough with JBSA that they are keenly aware that City of Schertz has a different provision in our code than other cities, and they understand there is this requirement for this letter to affirmatively support. They are very much aware of that. So they, in my opinion, clearly know when they are submitting the letter that meets that intent, and when they are giving a letter that doesn't, that would be the kind of letter they'd give another community. So yeah, if he wants to submit a PDD, he can. If he wants to say, look, I don't even want to wait for feedback for staff, just run the thing, we'll run it for him. Perfectly fine doing that.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So receiving the letter in the affirmative from JBSA doesn't mean that we would have to approve it,
No,
right?
doesn't mean we'd have to approve it.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that
To be clear,
point.
it doesn't mean
Okay.
we'd have to approve it. But the fundamental issue on this case, you know, I mean, you have some compatibility issues with homes backing right up to the soccer complex. Now, again, good news is the soccer complex is right there. The Lions is right there. So anybody moving in theoretically should know what they're moving in next to. But as we've seen before, folks may move in and say, well, I'm here now, and so I don't like the fact that their kids making noise and lights and things like that, right? But, you know, as staff even did with the TIA of the proposed zoning the traffic is less under what's proposed than what the current zoning would be. I mean, we worked with the applicant on that to say, hey, this is what we need to understand. And sure enough, if it's a traffic concern, there's less traffic from what they're proposing than what the current zoning is. So yeah, for us, the fundamental issue is the Randolph issue on this deal, and the code is what it is.
I guess, yeah, so for the applicants, I mean, is there a situation you think that if you went back and maybe readdress this with Randolph with a continuance, that you could come to a point where you could get a letter of affirmation? It means planned development district. So it's a little more than base zoning. Typically, we look at it as an overall. There's a site plan tied to it. There might be a mix of uses in certain areas, but it's not just R2. It's a couple different things kind of put together. Sorry.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Do not get a good result from my perspective tonight, and I come back to the PDD, I'm basically starting all over anyways. It's got to be noticed, and then I don't think the city will allow me to just amend my case to PDD right now.
No, I don't think that's what I'm asking. I think, because, I mean, if Randolph's giving you certain conditions, I mean, did you submit a site plan along with the letter to Randolph, or you just say, here's the base zoning?
Well, I mean, I think I'd like to find out what this commission feels today, and then leave it up to the client if he wants to amend the request to PDD and come back again, or try to go forward with what we have today to council.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Okay.
I mean, I think I have to do that with my client.
Okay. I wanted to get, I mean, I think that's the biggest holdup, because I mean, reading the chair, or the board, I think the Randolph thing, I mean, it's code, and to be a stickler on code, it's a code section. And so I just don't want to send you forward if there's something that you could reapproach and say, maybe if we change something about this, we could get a letter and come back in a month. But I mean, if you want to move forward, we can definitely, but up to you. Okay.
Sure.
All right, anybody else? Go for it, Mr. Outlaw.
Just a couple of quick remarks. First of all, if it wasn't for the APZ, it's a great looking. In fact, you could do all 32. The single family is what's out there. It's what needs to be there. So if it wasn't for the APZ, we wouldn't have an issue. The other thing I wanted to address your remark about, I worked for the city for 25 years, and I've been on P&Z now for 9. And I tell a story that as the fire marshal one day, I drove out to southwestern Schertz out there off of Scenic Lake just to see what was going on. And I turned into a brand new subdivision, and I made a left and then a right to run up the side of the subdivision. And every lot on the left side of the street that backed up to a barbed wire fence and open land was sold. Every one of them. On the other side of the street, 50-50, okay? But there's no doubt in my mind, everybody was buying on that other side just like you did. They didn't want anybody behind them. Well, what they didn't know is in my office, on my desk at that very moment, was the subdivision plan for the other side of that fence, okay? And we've heard this time and time again. You're not the first to say this. Well, they told us they weren't going to build. They don't own the property. They don't control it. They couldn't make you that promise. And they did it anyway, okay? Don't feel, you're not alone. You're not the first one. You probably won't be the last one. So, thank you.
So,
Hon, I'm sorry, y'all. The public comment section is closed, so we got to keep it, yeah.
So I just had a question. So with regard to development, and this has come up before, especially with citizens that live in these neighborhoods that don't want certain things built around their property, even though they don't own the land, right? So we don't get to control that part. But as far as the development goes, has there been any attempt to sit down with anyone from JBSA and with the residents from the neighboring community to try and figure out what would work? Because a lot of times, you know, we come here and it seems like developers want to force feed what they want without consideration for being neighborly and making sure that whatever's built there represents what the overall scheme or plan is for the city or that area, and in this case, JBSA. And so that's something to consider as we move forward. I don't know if that's been done, but I would think that that would be an acceptable approach just for the sake of inclusion, because otherwise, you know, everyone's going to push back at something that they don't like. And I just wanted to lend that before we make a motion, which I'm ready to make.
I think Mr. Outlaw had one last comment. Did you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, if there's no other comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to deny PLZC 20250062.
I'll second that motion, and just to clarify, that's a motion to recommend denial, correct?
Yeah.
That's correct.
That is a motion to recommend denial of PLZC 20250062 by Commissioner Hector, seconded by Commissioner Outlaw. Any comments? If not, please vote. That is 7 votes. Can you please publish that? And that motion carries. All right, item D, PL's. Oh, real quick before we do that, if you're here for that case, do we have a city council hearing date? That will be the final determination. This is a recommendation that will go to city council on
November 14th. That one's a little weird, so it'll be November 14th.
Thank you, Daisy. All right, item D, PLZC 2025-0215. Hold a public hearing and make a recommendation on request to rezone approximately 11.03 acres of land from pre-development district to agricultural district, generally known as 7703 Trainer Hale Road, approximately 1,700 feet north of the intersection of Trainer Hale Road and IH-10, more specifically known as Bexar County Parcel Identification Number 339346, City of Schertz, Bexar County, Texas. William.
Good evening, Commission. PLZC 2025-0215, a proposed zone change to AD on Trainer Hill Road. William Willingham, planner. For your orientation, this is the subject property's aerial view. You can see there outlined in yellow, that's the parcel there. It is 11.03 acres. The surrounding site, you can see it's primarily an agricultural area, including the property itself, primarily agricultural. There are a couple of residences located in the area, and you can also see this is the right-of-way for Trainer Hill Road. And this is a private road, Dusty Fields. Notification for the property, there were 13 public notices that were sent out on the 19th of September. As of today, we've received 0 responses. A public hearing notice is to be published in the San Antonio Express prior to City Council. And the SCU-CISD was notified of the request, and the notification sign was placed on the property by the applicant. So just once again, background on the zone change. This is a request to change from pre-development district to agricultural district. You can see here that the surrounding area is currently primarily agricultural district. There are a number of pre-development districts as well. Background on the property, the history. So Ordinance 10A20 was the ordinance that allowed the annexation of this property into the city. So that happened in July of 2010. The zoning that was established at that time was the pre-development district, PRE. Then, if you all may remember, Ordinance 24S24 is when a number of annexations came in with the city of Schertz. So that happened in July of 2024. So you can see here that at that same time when they were annexed, they also came in with the zoning districts, which primarily you can see here are all AD zones, agricultural district. And so the history for the applicant purchased this property in December of 2013, so he missed that annexation date, and then, he already had his zoning there. The present conditions of the site are 1 home, and then it's agricultural land, and the applicant intends to construct a 2nd home on site and construct an accessory storage structure. So once again, this is just more of the site in context. You can see primarily AD in the area. You can see that this is primarily undeveloped agricultural land. And you can also see the conditions of the site along Trainer Hill Road. So on the bottom left, you can see this is actually the applicant's driveway to his property. And then further down over here, you can actually see that's the entrance to the sewer plant. Zoning district dimensional requirements. You can see here that there are a limited number of permitted uses within the PRE zone, and they also don't have any dimensional requirements in the PRE zone. Whereas in the agricultural district, there are a few more permitted uses, which are typical for an agricultural district: agricultural, field crops, livestock, a dwelling unit, stable commercial, and then it also establishes dimensional requirements. So UDC section 2154D, criteria for approval: whether the proposed zone change implements the policies of the adopted comprehensive land plan or any other applicable adopted plans. So this area is actually designated at this time as regional corridor. Regional corridor is intended for commercial or entertainment areas along major thoroughfares. The applicant is requesting agricultural district AD. It is intended for agricultural preservation on lots over 5 acres. So it's important to remember that the comprehensive land plan is a guiding document for the long-range vision of the city, and we must consider the existing conditions of the area. So the applicant is requesting a zone that is not changing the conditions of the surrounding area. 2, whether the proposed zone change promotes the health, safety, and welfare of the city. As part of promoting health, safety, and welfare, the city should encourage development compatible with surrounding uses, utilizing standards and transitional uses to alleviate negative impacts. Agricultural District AD is intended for areas with limited utility service. Right now, the site is located within the Schertz Sewer CCN and the CCMA CCN. But right now, the site, as well as surrounding areas, are all served by septic, so they're not connected to the CCN, or the sewer system in those CCNs. Engineering has also conducted a study on this site, and the potential traffic impact by the zone change will not be measurable, and you can see that here. 3, whether the uses permitted by the proposed zone change will be consistent and appropriate with the existing uses in the immediate area. So as I've mentioned before, the subject property and the surrounding area is characterized by agricultural uses. You can see that in the existing zoning districts at this time. And the subject property, subject property is surrounded by other properties currently zoned as AD. Or whether other factors are deemed relevant and important in the consideration of the request. All UDC requirements have been met for the proposed zone change request. SCUC ISD has been notified of the request, and the Schertz Fire, EMS, and Police departments have been notified of the zone change. Police and EMS did not provide any specific concerns. However, Fire did express a concern related to accessing the structures in the rear of the property through this driveway. Staff recommendation: due to the rural character of the surrounding area, the limited utility availability, and the increase in development standards resulting from the zone change, staff recommends approval of PLZC 2025-0215. And the applicant is here if you have any questions for him.
Awesome. Thank you, William. Is there anything you'd like to say before I open it up, or? Okay. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and move forward to public comment. It is 7:07. Is anyone that would like to address the commission on this item? All right. Once, twice. It is still 7:07, and we will close public comment. Commissioners, questions, comments, concerns, motion. Oh, go for it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend approval of PLZC 2025-0215.
Second.
That is a motion to recommend approval by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Carbone of PLZC 2025-0215. Any other comments? If not, please vote. That is 7 votes. Can you publish that, please? That motion carries. And again, this will go to the City Council on the 14th. Awesome, 14th. Thank you, sir. All right. Does anyone need a break real quick? Good? All right. So we'll move forward for the items for the individual consideration. Item 6A, PLRP 2025-0221 is a waiver. Consider and act upon a request for a waiver in relation to on-site sewer facilities for the replat of the Sam B. Lifshitz Subdivision number 9, approximately 0.76 acres of land located approximately 750 feet east of the intersection of File Road and IH-10, more specifically known as Bear County Parcel Identification Numbers 618921 and 618922, City of Schertz, Bear County, Texas. William.
Good evening, Commission. PLRP 2025-0221, waiver request for the Sam B. Lifshutz Subdivision Number 9 replat. So for your orientation, this is the location of the site outlined in green here. You can see this is IH-10 Access Road, and you can also see this is File Road here, so just right away from the intersection there. So the this property is 7.751 acres, establishing Lot 49, Block 1 of the Sam B. Lifshutz Subdivision Number 9, which will consist of one buildable lot. So right now the site is currently platted as Block 1, Lots 10, 11, and 12. It is currently zoned as general business and has direct access onto IH-10. It is also located duly within the Schertz Sewer CCN and the San Antonio River Authority CCN, approximately 750 feet east of the intersection of File Road and I-10. And the site is currently undeveloped at this time. There are no connections to water or wastewater. This is the proposed replat. You can see here the lots that currently exist. You can see this is what they're requesting or proposing. Waiver request. The applicant is seeking approval of the waiver to install privately owned on-site sewer facilities on the property and not extend utilities across the property. Per UDC Article 15, Easements and Utilities, Section 2115.3a, Wastewater Systems, Wastewater Connection Required, and Section 2115.3d, Utilities, all lots within a subdivision are required to connect to public sanitary sewer systems and extend wastewater lines unless otherwise approved by the city. So based on these requirements of the UDC and the proposed installation of an on-site septic facility, a waiver is required to be requested from the Planning and Zoning Commission as detailed in the UDC. Staff analysis. So as I mentioned before, it is currently located within the Sarah CCN as well. The nearest connection is approximately 2,000 feet away. It is a Sarah main across the other side of IH-10, and there are presently no wastewater services on site. So the applicant intends to develop either a restaurant or a food truck park in this area, and the applicant is requesting this waiver come into compliance, or the applicant is requesting the waiver as they're not connected to services nor intend to extend facilities. And then you can see here, this is an engineering memo supporting the approval of this request. So the staff recommendation, the nearest sewer connection is over 2,000 feet away across IH-10, and the applicant will be required to connect to sanitary sewer once the public infrastructure has been extended to serve the area. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the waiver request as presented.
Thank you, William. So this is not a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open it up to commissioner questions. Anybody have anything? Comments? Concerns? Motions? Anybody?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve PLRP 2025-0221 waiver.
Second.
As a motion to approve PLRP 2025-0221 waiver by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Goldick. Any other comments? If not, please vote. There's 7 votes. Can we publish that, please? That motion carries. Moving on. PLRP 2025-0221, consider and act upon a request for approval of a replat of the Sam B. Lifshutz, how'd you say that?
Lifshutz.
Lifshutz, there you go. Number 9, subdivision, approximately 0.76 acres of land located at 11825 IH-10, Schertz, Texas, approximately 750 feet east of the intersection of File Road and IH-10, more specifically known as Bear County Parcel Identification Numbers 618921 and 618922, City of Schertz, Bear County, Texas. William.
Good evening, Commission. PLRP 2025-0221 replat of the Sam B. Lifshutz Subdivision Number 9. So once again, this is the same property here located on IH-10 and File Road. Once again, it's the same request. Block 1, lots 10, 11, and 12 are proposed to be replat into Block 1, Lot 49 of the subdivision. This is the replat exhibit here. This is the former proposal, this is the proposal. These are the former lots. Recommendation, the proposed preliminary plat is generally consistent with the applicable requirements for the property, ordinances, and regulations. The plat has been reviewed with no objections by the engineering, fire, and planning departments. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the replat as presented.
All right, thank you, William. Again, not a public comment, or not a public hearing. So, commissioners, any questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Outlaw.
William, I'm sorry, could you put the plat diagram back up
Yes.
there for me? We went through it kind of quickly. So, I see the Lot 49, Block 1, but going up to the existing, I see what, 5 lots across there?
It's just this, I know it's kind of hard to see here. It's
There's
just these
three of them in there,
yes.
correct? So this Lot 13 is the one just to the,
Yes,
Or
just to the
these?
north, So
Okay.
this lot 13 is this one right here, that's D.
okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments, motions? Go for it.
I make a recommendation to approve PLRP 2025-0221.
Second.
That is a motion to approve PLRP 2025-0221 by Commissioner Carbone, second by Commissioner Goldick, right? All right, I'm sorry, was it Goldick? Yeah, okay. Is there any other comments? No other comments, please vote. That is 7 votes, can we publish that? That motion carries. All right, item 7A, request by commissioners to place items on a future P&Z agenda. Any items? Yes, no? Any announcements by commissioners?
Yes.
Go for it.
Well, as many of you know, that I put my name in the hat to run for City Council Place 2, and I appreciate the opportunity that has afforded me on this council as a commissioner, and I look forward to hopefully taking those talents and experiences that I've had on this council and serving the community of Schertz better in a greater capacity. I want to tell the individuals of Schertz that you'll have an opportunity to talk directly to the candidates on the 8th of October and meet the candidate at 6 p.m. in Building 2. If you'd like to come and pepper me with questions, I welcome them. I love face-to-face engagement. There's also a civic leader luncheon on the 21st of October that I'll be there as well, and Building 5 in the Civic Center. And I just want to remind everyone that early voting starts on October 20th through the 31st of October, and Election Day is the 4th of November. And if you have questions about what I stand for, what I'm looking to do as a member of the City Council, there's one area where you can look is the Community Impact Q&A. They've already published some of the questions they've asked me. And honestly, the best way to get to know me is face-to-face. And so I look forward to seeing as many residents and neighbors of Schertz at Meet the Candidate. So thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Anybody else? Staff announcements?
May not have noticed in the staff report or Daisy's presentation, but Daisy is our new senior planner, so I just wanted to introduce her to Daisy. So, thank you.
We did.
Well, congrats, Daisy. Very cool. All right, item 8A, information is available in the Planning and Zoning Commission packets about the current projects and City Council statuses. And with that, we are adjourned at 7:18.